Hey, Kerfuffle fans, welcome back to another episode. And today I have an amazing guest. Now, I've worked with this lady for a number of years, and you want to talk about a shining star in the industry of organization and skills. Crystal Cannata is the person that is it. I'm telling you what, when I worked with her and we were going to work with her again, some of the things that she's put together has been absolutely stupendous. And this episode is going to be focusing on systems and processes. If you have a business and you really need to get something done, or you just want to progress or make things easier, or if you're a business owner, systems and processes are the key. And not, without further ado, I have the queen of systems and processes. Welcome to the show, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Sean. I don't know if I've ever been called queen before. Definitely guru, but not queen. It feels like such a high honor. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So first of all, for all our fans that maybe who don't know who you are, let's find out about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I am a Jersey girl. Lived in Staten Island, New York for a little while, and now I am in North Carolina, out by the beach in Wilmington. But I have been in operations management basically since I'm 17 years old. I mean, 17 years old, I got my first management job, and it was kind of like just figure it out. And that's what I did. And I've spent, a lot of time figuring out how systems and processes sort of work inside of businesses and how to streamline things. And so my brain just likes to see problems and solve them. And so through that, that comes out in so many different ways. Like I homeschool my kids. So how do you create schedules and meal plans, and how do you maintain your home in a certain way? And then it also comes out through business, and so that's where the right hand admin came from, and that's how I got started with that.
So I got to ask, for all the single, or I don't want to say the single moms out there, all the moms out there, whether you're single, married, in a relationship, or whatever, how do you manage running a business and homeschooling your children at the same time? I mean, they say not all heroes wear capes. So how do you manage that?
Well, and just to clarify, I do have a very supportive husband, so that is part of it, right? Like having the support system is part of it, because it does take a lot of sacrifice. But I think for me, what I found is if you're going to do a bunch of things, you have to be okay with the idea that balance doesn't really exist, and you're not going to do all the things really well all the time. So there are definitely days and even weeks that business takes the forefront and we're doing the minimum in terms of homeschooling and home stuff. And then there are definitely weeks where that switches and all my work stuff kind of has to trickle down so that I can focus in on field trips and learning and all of these kind of things with my kids. So I think in order to balance it all, you just have to get into that mindset of I can't do all the things at the highest capacity all the time. I have to figure out the balance that works for my life.
So you have such a great work ethic. Who inspired that work ethic in you? Who is your inspiration that, I mean, I have a hard time organizing my sock drawer, and you're out here organizing whole companies. Who inspired you to do this?
I had to be, I mean, I've never been asked that before. And so it's interesting to think about that. But I think it's just my desire to help people as a whole around me kind of inspired that. Like when I see the people around me in stress, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, if we just simplify this down, lean it out, and now all of a sudden it becomes manageable, like to me, I just get such satisfaction in that. So I think just seeing the people around me kind of struggle with, because I think a lot of times things are made to be more complicated than they are. So I think just being able to simplify it down to help everybody around me, and then everybody can kind of rise up because they have a little bit more time and mental space back, I think is really what inspires that inside of myself.
So with all this organizational skills and stuff like that, I mean, I know you just went on a trip to Disney, and I saw online that the you shared the organizational skills of a mom and a family on trip. That was kind of interesting. Is that something you kind of always do when you go away, or is it just like in the blood?
So I don't do it all every trip, but Disney was definitely overwhelming me a little bit because there's so much. Like, how do the genie passes work, and how does this work, and can both of my kids get on this ride or just one? And so it was like just so much information. So I did. I sat there and I was like, how do I simplify? And then so I came up with like a coding system. Okay, this means roller coaster, this means show. And I put everything into a task manager and we kind of like mapped everything out. And for me, like putting in that work up front allowed me to be able to like enjoy it in the moment because I didn't have to try and figure it out while I was standing at Disney and being like, which ride are we going to? So that was pretty funny. I wonder if I could do that on other trips because I've never done it that way before.
Well, that would be kind of like a cool idea, you know. There's an idea selling point. If you could come up with a way to organize trips and sell it on your website, like, you know, take your Disney thing, for instance, and you could sell it as an itinerary for people to go when they go on vacation or a tips thing, man, that's a pretty good idea. That's organization. There again.
I love that. And I love even like you calling that out because sometimes I think I don't realize that other people's brains don't work like that. Because I'm just like, oh, just take this and download it from here and put it into the task manager and then just, move this around. And so it's funny how we each have our different like unique ways that our brain works and how there is so much value to other people in that.
Yeah, I would be totally lost without my crew. I mean, I'm a shout out to my team. They are amazing, and it's growing. The team is growing, but I'll tell you what, I would be totally lost. And their organization is far better than mine. If I could just show you my desk, the stack of papers next to it that I got to rifle through every day, yeah, it's embarrassing.
But I think that's so important though too, because a lot of business owners will get stuck in thinking, I'm the owner, so I have to figure it all out. And so the owners that I've seen over the last 18 years that actually do find success and are able to like enjoy their success will say, hey, my team knows this better than I do. My team, like I can lean on my team. I appreciate them and I appreciate the value that they bring to the table. So like even though it feels like I'm so chaotic, but my team has it, it's like that in itself is a win for you as a business owner.
Yeah, it really is. And then that's where kind of like your company, the right hand admin, comes in. And for those of you that are out there looking for Crystal or looking for her services, check her out on her websites, and she's also on social media. She's very responsive. We message her. I speak with her quite often, actually, and she's very responsive. So, where can they find you online for the right hand admin?
Yeah, so the best way would be my website if you want to see everything. But if you kind of just want to connect with me, TikTok I'm most active and Instagram. So at Crystal Cannata on TikTok and then at Crystal Cannata _ on Instagram.
Okay, okay. And so let's talk a little bit about the right hand admin because I'm really interested to get in the meat and potatoes of this. I mean, this is your baby, this is your business, and what exactly does the right hand admin do? What exactly does Crystal do?
Yeah, so the right hand admin, funny enough, started, I was 6 months pregnant and I'm like, had this big old belly. And I'm like, I know that I want to help. I know that I don't want to go into an office. And I know that I have all of these skills that I've gathered over the years of doing operations management. So, like, how can I translate that into small business? So, initially, we were just doing administrative work. And so I would do any administrative work that you had. Like, if I could do it from home, and it would help you, I would do it. And so I started as like a virtual assistant. And what I realized pretty quickly is business owners will jump from I'm doing everything myself to I'm going to hire a virtual assistant. But there's like this gap in between because they don't actually know what to delegate to the VA, how to delegate it. A lot of them don't have systems and processes in place. What they have is just like kind of a jumbled mess in their brain and they're putting out fires. And so we came in a little bit differently and we started with the approach of like, what if we came in as the operations manager first and we mapped everything out and we created process manuals, task managers, accountability checkpoints, escalation checkpoints. We mapped the customer journey. What if we did that first and then we delegated to a VA? Like, would there be more success? And I mean, the answer has been yes, 100 times over, which is just been amazing for me because you asked like, what does Crystal do? Like my role in all of it, because I have an amazing team that is behind the scenes of me as well, but my role is the strategy. I feel like the value that I bring is to sit down with the business and map out, start to finish, what is the customer journey, what technology needs to be put in place, what processes need to be documented with team members, what are the key pieces that you need to implement in order to lean up your business so that you could scale the business.
So you're basically assisting a new business owner with a battle plan, a strategy, really, on what to do. And how does that, like, if I'm listening to the show and I say, okay, I really need organization. Let me get a hold of Crystal, see what she has to say. How does that process work? As far as, get a hold of you, we retain your service, and then we say, okay, let's set up a battle plan. How does all of this work? Like the big map?
Yeah, I want to answer that question, but I do want to say, because you said new businesses, a lot of the people we work with, they've been in business for like 20 years.
Oh,
And I get
wow.
on the phone with them and I'm like, how do you remember what your schedule is? And it's like, I just remember, or I have notes in my truck. And so it's at the breaking point of like, I can't do this anymore. I want to sell my business. I want to retire from my business. I want to not be burned out by my business. It's really when people start to find us. And so the first thing that we do is a business audit. So every single person that comes to us does a business audit. And so we sit down for 2 hours and we literally map start to finish everything in their business. How do you handle leads? How do you handle estimates? How do you handle follow-ups, ordering materials, tracking your expenses, HR, like all of it. We go through, I have a series of questions, and 2 hours sounds like it's going to be a long time, but it goes really fast, and we just dig. And then we deliver to them an action plan. So just off the business audit, we deliver a plan of quick fixes. These are the things that you can implement in your business in the next 2 to 6 weeks that are going to make you feel immediate change. And then here's some big projects that you can do that are going to take a little bit longer, but will have a bigger impact overall on your business. That stuff might look like changing technology or systems and things like that, like bigger projects. And then we hand that over to the business owner. And sometimes people say, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to run with it now with my team. And that's perfectly fine. We encourage them to do that if they have the resources to do it. And when they don't have the resources to do that, then we can jump in hands-on and get it done for them. So they work with one of our business owners. Our business owner goes in, learns their business, creates all of that documentation that we talked about, process manuals, task managers, accountability, all the things, and then ultimately sticks with them to train, hire, manage an administrative team to support the day-to-day as well.
That sounds like it's an overwhelming amount of work. I mean, how detailed does this get? And like, is there a point where you're doing maybe a little trial and error on certain things? Like when you're setting up a system?
Yeah, and even for my own business, right? Like for my own business, we have had to go through times of, okay, we're going to transition this service or we're going to transition this platform. And sometimes there's things you have to tweak or processes you have to change. Like systems and processes is not a one-time project, right? There is a little bit of trial and error. Hey, we're going to try it this way. Okay, that helped, but it's not 100%. And now let's tweak it. And that's why most big companies, they have a director of operations or an operations manager or somebody on staff. A lot of the smaller companies, though, they can't. You're not going to hire a six-figure operations manager to work full time. You don't need it. You can't afford it. And so that's why we're able to come in and help make those never-ending changes and manage those never-ending kind of requests and improvements from the team in a fractional way.
So if I'm a business owner and I'm looking at, putting systems and process in place, what is the first system, you put in place? Because you, like you said, you have operations, you have sales, you have marketing, you have distribution, you have maintenance, whatever, depending upon the business of what it is. What is the first piece of that pie?
So I would say there's like three chunks to business. So there's like the first chunk is your marketing, and that's getting eyeballs on your business, right? That's like getting people to know that you even exist. Then there's the operations. So that's everything from taking that new lead through to purchasing and doing work with you, all the way to delivery of that service and asking them for a testimonial and referral. And then the third chunk of business is like your financial chunk. So that's your bookkeeping, accounting, and all that. I always say start with the middle piece, start with that operations piece. So that means starting with the customer journey. What happens every single step from a new lead comes in until the job is complete? Like literally map it out. And then from there, you can figure out what tech tools need to be implemented, what to dos need to happen, what technology needs to happen. And if there's one thing, I just got done doing a business audit, and so this is fresh on my mind. But if there was like one thing that I could teach every single business owner about that we do at the Right Hand Admin, is we implement something called an open items doc. And so essentially, it's just like a one-page landing place for the business owner. So their team, instead of pinging them all day long, hey, there's this issue, I need you to make this decision, we need to get this done, they kind of put all of those non-urgent requests in one place so that the business owner can check that one time a day, two times a day, but they check it at their will. Instead of being interrupted all day, they intentionally go on, give direction to their team, and that alone gives them so much of their mental space back so that they can,
Wow.
guide everybody but not be consumed all day.
I never even thought about something like that. See, this is why you're the queen of systems and processes. I never thought about it like an actual punch list for an owner. I mean, that as an owner myself, that would be so helpful. And these little tricks that you help your clients with, or your prospective clients or what have you, when you're helping them out with, this is all self-taught, a lot of it, right? Like you learn this all by yourself.
Yeah, this is definitely trial and error. Um, Funny enough, one of my first management positions was for a franchise. And so I think when I first started to realize that, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of a mind for this, is my systems and things that I would kind of try and implement at my location, the franchise was taking that and implementing it across to all of the other locations. And so that's kind of where it stemmed from, of being like, okay, like maybe the way that I do look at things is sort of unique. And these little tidbits can help make drastic change, because none of it is super complicated. Like I say open item stock and it's like, oh, like that could literally change your life. If you are an owner that's getting all these pings throughout the day, that one little thing can change your whole outlook on your business.
That's that's really cool. Now, when you're talking about the client journey, the customer journey, I would say, what exactly do you mean about the customer journey? I'm calling XYZ business, and is that what you kind of mean? And from the moment of call, or does it go, and how do you solicit that client all the way to finishing their project?
So technically it should go from beginning, right? Of like, what is the psychology of bringing the person in? What are their pain points? How are you doing your marketing? But if we stick with like first tackling that middle piece, that operations piece, you can start with like new lead comes in. So all that other, you can always add on to the beginning of your customer journey. But so for an example might be, new lead comes in. Usually that's via email. Okay, what's the email script that they're getting as a response? Who's responsible for responding to them? What's the call to action you're trying to get them to do? For a lot of the businesses we work with, we want them to schedule an estimate appointment, right? We're working with a lot of contractors, trades, home services. So they want to schedule an estimate. Well, how do they schedule the estimate? What calendar does it go on? How do we know the availability? And so literally piece by piece, what is every step that needs to happen for the client to successfully go through working with your company? And do we have it buttoned up? Do we have templates in place, tasks in place? We make sure that there's no gaps, there's no overlaps.
Well, what do you find is like the hardest part of working with if if you bring on a new client to work with you, not a new company, but just say a new client, what do you find is like one of the hardest parts? Is it the owner letting the reins go? Is it the lack of systems? Is it a financial thing? What do you think it is, or is culmination of everything?
Yeah, I think that a lot of business owners, when you start laying out all the things that need to be fixed, it's it's almost like subconsciously you're thinking, how could I be such a failure right now? Like, how did I let it go this far, this long, right? And so a lot of business owners actually need some coaching from us to kind of get through that. Like, just the way that you have been doing things got you this far. And so we're thankful for that. We don't feel shame about that, right? But now to get to that next tier, that next level, we have to make some changes. So kind of just letting go of, I've always done it this way. I built it this way. Like it's gotten me the success. And then trusting mentors, team members, to help them get to that next level.
So, and you work with people all around the United States, right? I mean, I know I've worked with you. I know other people that have worked with you in the past, and I'm 3 states away from you. But so if somebody's like, "Hey, listening to this show and saying, hey, this what Crystal's saying is making sense," you'll work with pretty much anybody around the country, or do you vet your clients, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, we vet our clients, but in terms of location, we will work anywhere in the country. We don't work with anybody who is product based. So we're very focused on like service based. So a lot of our clients are contractors, trades, and home services. I would say that's our specialty, but we do get like coaches, consultants. We've had like real estate agents, public adjusters, right? Like we've had clients like that as well. But we don't do anything where people are selling a product. That's definitely not our expertise. And I would say most clients come to us, they're doing revenue over 250,000 in order to comfortably afford our solutions. Because we would never want to trade one stress for another stress, right? So like you want to be at a certain point where you're not going to feel that financial strain in order to get the help to grow to the next level.
Right. Well, and you mentioned public adjuster. That's how you and I met, and we did some work together as a PA. And that's a very interesting story in itself, because public adjusting is a very it's a hard speculative business. You don't know if you're going to get anything. It's not like you're a roofer that people know that a roofer fixes, or a plumber fixes, or a window guy, what they do. But a lot of people don't know what a PA is, so it's kind of tough to set up a lead funnel as a public adjuster when everything is referral work. Although a system in place for referral work would be amazing.
Well, I do know that in your industry, in that public adjusting industry, what was really the most powerful is like the follow-ups, like having a timed follow-up for like insurance companies and things like that, so that we could push claims through a lot faster. So, just having that plan in place by itself, I think was really where the value was there.
So, what was one of the most interesting, and I don't want you to say the name, but the interesting type of client that you worked with that became the hardest person to set up as far as systems and processes, but it wound up being a success, like your pinnacle on the hill, your golden castle on the hill.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna need 1 second. I'm like processing through. Um, we did have a client that was one of our first clients, and they do like mold and asbestos removal and like environmental services, I guess you would call it. It was one of our first clients. It's when I first started like building out my team. And this person actually was like in business for over 20 years, literally found himself on his hospital bed. And the doctor was like, you have to reduce stress, and just emailed me his email and password. And so we actually went in and, with no knowledge of the industry, with no knowledge of anything, just like started reading all of his sent emails to get an idea of what they were doing and how they communicated with people, to be able to jump in with pretty much no training. And I thought that that was just like, it was a challenge, but to be able to overcome that and say, okay, you don't even really have to tell me what to do. I'm going to go in, I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going to set you up on this whole system. That client in particular, I mean, we've worked with them on and off for it's almost 6 years at this point. And so I would definitely call it a success. And it was an interesting way to come into an account. And I think it was one of the accounts that really made me realize people don't need just a virtual assistant. People need somebody who can come and help them sort through all the mess.
And that's tough. I mean, if you don't know about something and then somebody says, "Well, here's my email address. Let me log in and read about mold and spores and everything else. And I have no idea what we're talking about other than the fact I might clean my kitchen at home. That's tough.
Which is funny because I am like, mold is my worst fear. Like anything gets wet, like forever. I'm just like, no, like get it out right away, get it dry right away. And so I just remember my husband thought it was the funniest thing. He's like, of course you would get a client that like that's what all the pictures are and everything that you have to learn about.
And I would imagine your house is pretty tidy and organized as well.
Yes, I have a problem.
So when we're talking about systems now, the systems are the actual physical systems. Are you talking about like things like System IO or Google Meet, things like that, these type of systems?
So when I say systems and processes, the systems is like the tech. So that could be System IO, that could be Jobber, Haskell Pro, Trello, all the things. And then processes is like, how do you use the system and how does the team use the system? So what are the steps that they take in order to accomplish what the system needs to accomplish?
So I know that this isn't an endorsement, but what are some of the systems that you got that you prefer? I know it's not an endorsement and it could change at any time. Note to crowd out there.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because we used to actually just kind of try to fit everybody into one solution. And what we found over time is every company really is so unique that all the different tools do things like just a little different enough that we really try to customize it per business now. But, task management, I absolutely love Todoist. I try to get everybody on Todoist just because it's so user friendly. You can literally like say to it, order my t-shirts on Friday and it will create a task for you to order t-shirts on Friday. And so it's like very intuitive. And then, Jobber, House Call Pro, Service Fusion, ClickUp, all great tools.
Yeah, it's and you can use these in your everyday life as well, not just for work. So I mean, I imagine you do. I know I do, and you know, I'm just used to saying, "Hey, hey Google." I don't want to say it too loud because it'll go
Yeah.
off, but put this on the calendar or something like that, and it will do it. It'll set me a reminder. So
Yeah, right? Let's say, I get a new vacuum and it says change the filters every 6 months. Like I will literally go on my task manager and be like, change vacuum filter every 6 months. And then it pops up on my list. And people are like, how do you remember to maintain all these things? I'm like, I literally just put it on the list because I will forget. But if it's on my list, then I know that my goal at the end of each day is to like clear my list. So the best
yeah,
thing.
I've seen now the new trick on commercials is like they'll play a commercial and at the beginning they'll say, "Hey, yeah, what's it called? Starts with a S. Siri."
Yeah.
They'll say, "Hey, that," and it'll say, order
Oh, wow.
cleaning detergent or something, and it'll put it on there because it's listening from the TV to the system, and then automatically it goes on your calendar. A lot of commercial companies are starting to do that now.
Oh, that's wild. I've never seen that before.
Yep, they hope it picks it up and it jumps right on there and it shows, oh yeah, I got to get some Tide Pods today or something like that.
Imagine like you send your spouse to the store and they come home with all this random stuff. They're like,
You're
you
like,
put it on the list.
what is this? What is this?
I can't. You're like, we never put that on the list.
But so systems are different from industry to industry. I know that working in the as a public adjuster, we have certain CRMs, and I know that mold remediation guys, you use that example, they have a different type of CRM, and contractors use different estimating softwares. So how do you learn and diversify so much into these different systems? Again, that's what sets you apart. You're not putting everything together, you're learning everybody's systems. How do you learn all this stuff?
So a lot of these softwares do have trainings and things like that. It's just often that the business owner doesn't have time to go in and figure it out. Right. So there is a lot of trainings available, but we do have sort of a unique approach in how we do softwares. I think a lot of people say, okay, I need to find a new software. And all of a sudden they get on calls with all these software sales reps and they get sold. Right. It's like, oh, well, this can do this and this can do this and this can do this. What we do is we build out the customer journey and the needs first. And then like we go and interview these software companies since we say, okay, show me how you do this, this, and this. Oh no, it doesn't work that way. You're not for us. And we go to the next one and we figure out what software checks most of the boxes. So because we're reverse engineering and we already know what we need the system to do in order for the business to run really lean, we're not learning bells and whistles all the time because we only need to learn and know that it can do these things that drive the business forward. And I will say that over the years, what I have found is a lot of the industry specific tools, they're not maybe as well built out as more of the generalized tools, and that's because they're focused just on that industry and what they think that industry should be doing to manage pipelines. And sometimes it puts people in too restrictive of a box where they have to run their business to satisfy the software versus the software serving their business. So a lot of times we don't gravitate towards industry specific softwares.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, as far as like if a person can better off without that industry specific software, would you refer them and say, you know what, you're paying this extra money for this useless CRM. Here is a cheaper one or a free one online and stuff like that. So you help people out with that as well.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because you talk about like, making mistakes or trial and error in business, right? And so we had tried a way of packaging our services where we like just came in and overhauled the business. So like it would be like day one, we come in, we switch everything to a new software, to new systems and everything. And what we found is that transition is very hard for like the teams, for the business owners to make. So now what we do is we first come in, learn what you're doing, start doing it your way, even if it's the messy way, making small tweaks, documenting it, really get integrated so that we fully understand and can support you through a change. And then we start introducing and saying, okay, listen, we're not using all of these features on the software. You're paying this ridiculous amount of money. We can accomplish everything we need to accomplish in this other solution. And then we can help you make that transition over. So it would look like we start building that out and then start helping you transition over and create all of the process manuals and task managers and things in that new system.
So the cool thing is not only are you saving monies by setting up the systems and processes, you're saving overhead costs with potential, hundreds, some cases, thousands of dollars in wasted subscription-based systems that a company doesn't need or something that they can combine into one system.
Yeah, and not only that, but one time I walked into this office and literally in 6 hours found like $300,000 worth of things that were just never invoiced because there were so many cracks in the system. So it's like the second you start leaning things up and you like get rid of all the noise and you say, well, what are the things that you need to actually drive things forward? I don't care about the reports and what's on whose desks and what email was sent. Like, where is this job going start to finish? Like you find money. Like cash flow is up, sales go up, everything goes up once things aren't falling through the cracks.
So earlier in the show, you had mentioned something about not only do you help people organize their business so they can run it, but you help them organize it so they can get out of it, sell it, and stuff like that. Now, what does that look like?
So sometimes people will build this business for their whole life, right? So they build everything and then they figure, well, one day I'm going to pass it on to my kids, right? Or I'm going to sell it. But they never actually created anything that is able to be passed down or able to be sold. So when they go to, a business broker and they say, hey, I want to sell this business, they're not going to get much for it. Really, all they're selling is maybe like their customer base. But if they can invest the time and money in setting up so that they have documented systems, processes, tasks, all those things, then they actually have something tangible that they can sell. So their ROI is going to go up on that business. They're going to be able to sell that business for a lot more than they would have been able to sell it. And the funny thing is, actually, sometimes once all of that is done, they don't want to sell it anymore because now it's not as stressful to run. And now they can kind of move into whatever the next phase of life is for them and still have this asset on the side generating them income that they spent their whole lifetime building.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more scalable. at that point too, because you're not just selling a list of clients, you're selling a system, a process, you're, employees that are educated and know how to do things. Or if you get rid of somebody, it should be easy to plug and play a new employee after that.
Yeah, and funny enough, we've had our training for like onboard training of new people is pretty unique. I will not do a side by side training with somebody. In my opinion, if you have to do side by side training, then your process manual is not where it needs to be. Because somebody should be able to come in, log into your task manager, have tasks that link out to processes, review your processes, and your processes should be so thorough that they should now understand what they're doing. And if they can't do that, first of all, they're going to have a lot of good questions that are going to make you go back and say, let me update that process for the next person. Right. Or it just means that your process is completely out of date, and then that's a problem as well. So, yeah, like being able to just bring somebody in and replace somebody is another freedom that you get when everything is already set up properly.
So aside from difficult owners that maybe don't want to turn over the keys to the castle, what is one of the most difficult things you deal with in setting up the process? Is it the lack of knowledge? Is it employee support? Is it getting to buy people into the process outside of the owner?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of times when we come in, the team is usually very on board because they're already feeling the stress in the day to day. I think, outside of the owner maybe not helping to facilitate that change or kind of like making sure that the team has time to make that change. I would say maybe one of the hardest parts is just getting people out of old habits. Because if you've been working for a company for 5 years and you always do something this one way and you can quickly get it done and move on by doing it this one way, then why would you take an extra 20 minutes to do it this new way? You know what I mean? And so it's like breaking people out of that habit and saying, I know that it seems faster right now to do it this way, but if you can come with me to the other side, it's going to be so much more lean in the future. And now this way is going to feel natural in a couple of weeks. So it's like just getting people like change overall is just really hard for people. And
Yeah.
so working through that with them.
So if you had to say one thing to the owners out there that are running a business, and we've talked about systems, we've talked about processes, we've talked about implementation, and really we're just, I could have you on this show for 3 hours just we're scraping the roof of systems and processes. And that's why, I'm so glad to have you as a guest on the show today. But if you could have say one thing to the business owners out there about making that next move, what would that be?
Yeah, just don't let what you've already done hold you back from what you can do. Don't let all of what you already have in place blind you to where you could go in your company, right? Because that'll hold you back real fast. And I know you asked for one, but I'm going to say two. But my second thing is like
Okay.
treat your people really well. The business owners that we see that reach their goals and have the freedom in their business are people who respect their team, are grateful for their team, and don't blame things on their team, instead problem solve to support their team.
Yeah, that can be a cancer real quick is when you start having bad management, but also when employees start looking for that door to leave, you're losing somebody valuable. And sometimes, hey, look, somebody needs to move on for their own sake, but that's not always the case. You can save the people by treating them, humanely. You can, reward them. Sometimes it's the little things. It's not always a pizza party. Sometimes it's a thank you, a gift card, here's tickets to a baseball game or something, especially somebody that worked real hard. And you can't do that stuff all the time, but it's the little things that people tend to remember from the boss when you do good things.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think most people want to do well in their job. They want to be respected and they want to, I mean, honestly, just be treated like a grown up. and and they want to be given tools and resources to do the best job that they can. Most people, there's always going to be people that are not the right fit for your company, but make sure that you are inspiring those who are meant to be there.
So I always ask this question. If you could go back in time 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, 20 years, and talk to the young Crystal, what's some advice that you would give that 18-year-old Crystal?
Sometimes I think about old bosses that I've had, and I wish I can go back in time and, like, now with the knowledge I have, sort of be more confident in speaking with them, because I think I've been told so many things over the years of, like, nobody's going to respect you if you wear pink pants, nobody's going to respect you if you wear jeans, nobody's going to, take you seriously if you do this, or you have to lead in this way that didn't like align with my values. And when you are 18, 19, 20, you're like looking at these people and you're like, okay, like they obviously are older than me. They must be more successful than me. And so, like, sometimes I wish I could go back and just tell myself, like, no, trust in yourself, like, be authentic to yourself. Because if I did just follow that path that everybody was telling me to follow, and conformed myself to what everybody wanted me to be, then I don't think that I'd be doing what I'm doing today in as impactful of a way.
So if somebody, again, I know we said this earlier, but if somebody again wants to find you, where are some places they can find you to reach out to get a hold of
Yeah,
you?
best ways are gonna be, my website, therighthandadmin.com, and then TikTok at Crystal Cannata, or Instagram at Crystal Cannata _.
Okay. So reach out to Crystal, guys. You will not be disappointed. She definitely gets a thumbs up from the Kerfuffle. She has been an amazing asset to me in the past, and look forward to working with her again in the future. And Crystal, we really want to thank you today for being on today's show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is just so fun. What a cool environment, and, really great guest that you've been having on. So I'm honored that you had me on here as well.
Thank you very much. And if you guys, again, want to reach out to Crystal, check out her website, give her a shout. Even if it's just a couple questions and you want to reach out to her and ask her about systems and processes, you won't be disappointed. She might get a little bit technical on you, but that's just Crystal for you. So if you guys like what you saw, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and click that notification bell below. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, and we're also on iHeartRadio, as well as Apple iTunes. You can also find us on YouTube and Rumble, and we're on Instagram and Facebook and all other social media platforms, including TikTok. So until next time, have fun storming the castle.